I'm from the foe. You dig?
What up, what up, what up, and what it do? Welcome back to another edition of The Way I See It with Jamario Rashad, brought to you by The Forecast. So, since our last time being updated, come on, Kawhi. Y'all was right there. Kyle Lowry, you you low center of gravity, no equilibrium, can't jump over a phone book, fat. Why? Come on, nigga. That was a little harsh. I apologize. But come on, Kyle Lowry. What you doing, man? But in other news, so I'm back to be back. Well, I'm glad to be back with you all for another episode of The Way I See It. So I'm gonna try the same type of segments I did in our last edition. I felt like that went over very well. So I'm gonna come with what my favorite has been so far, and we're gonna start with court vision. And well, hold on. There it is. Court vision. So, um, how do you all describe, or what would your definition of a hybrid be? Okay, so in terms of a car, the definition of a hybrid would be a vehicle with a gasoline engine and an electric motor. In terms of biology, the offspring of two plants or animals of a different species or variety. When it comes to the NBA, we've become accustomed to terms like tweener, point forward, combo guard, a whole lot of different distinctions that are just crossovers between the positions. And if you look at it, the crossover positions, the hybrids, are pretty much running the NBA right now. You got Ben Simmons, who's like 6'10", can't shoot a lick, but you know what I'm saying, he's a point guard. You have LeBron James, who's basically a point guard. Giannis. You have James Harden, who scores a lot of points, who also can average the most assists in the league. So it's like you have combo guards, the tweeners, the power forward. So hybrids are very, very, very common in the NBA today. But all right, let's look at some players that may not necessarily be in that typical mode. Hold on, just a second here. Preparation is everything. All right, so if you look at players such as Devin Booker, Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Austin Rivers, Larry Nance Jr., Klay Thompson, and even down to the presumptive soon-to-be number one pick, the overall number one player in high school basketball, Cole Anthony, what do all of them have in common? What you might first think, and the first thing that comes to mind is, well, they all have fathers that played in the NBA. Well, okay, that's easy one. But one stands out from the other ones, if you know what I mean. And that would be the Mamba, Kobe Bryant. He has a father that was in the NBA, Jelly Bean Joe Bryant, yeah. And he resembles his father. Kobe's a tall, slender, 6'6" shooting guard, dark-skinned male. Typical NBA specimen. Now, when you look at the rest of these players, Devin Booker, Seth, Larry Nance, Klay Thompson, all the NBA sons of these typical African American black players that look like black players because they are black players. They have offspring that, oddly enough, don't necessarily resemble them too much. And that's the type of hybrid I want to talk about right there. The NBA typically has been ran, and since pretty much the inception of the ABA and the merger and all that back in, I believe, the 70s. Don't quote me on that. The NBA has been ran by black guys. You had the Celtics. You have your McHale's, your Birds, your Nowitzkis. You know, even though he's German, you have your Steve Nashes. You do have your every now and again not black or non-black star. Rarely a superstar, but there have been a multitude of stars throughout the league. But it's starting to change, or is that just me? I'm not seeing too many LeBrons just getting drafted. Now Zion Williamson, he's a very big exception. So I'm gonna take him out of this discussion, but I'm talking about what I'm starting to see is the hybrid human, the African American white woman combination. Because most players in the NBA, to the complaint of black women and me, also, I agree with them a lot. A lot of these athletes, and most of these athletes, basketball and other sports, choose to be with white women for some reason. They get all this money, they get all this fame, and I guess they just don't have it in them to mess with or marry the struggle woman. If that's I imagine that's what's going through their head, because you can live around these women your entire life. You can be raised by these women. These women can be the ones that boost your ego, your male ego throughout your young life. Tell you look good in your black high school. You know what I'm saying? Keep your ego high as a young man. But when you matriculate on into the collegiate ranks, if you are a star player, you're then at these larger universities where the black population is very downward. So I guess some may have a case for why it may end up the way that it does, but still, I feel as though those that want to call them a sellout have every right to do so. But eventually, as the league changes, we're seeing the high flying players aren't the young players aren't coming in the league wanting to be Vince Carter anymore. Nobody's wanting to take it between their legs from the free throw line. Nobody's doing that. And although the dunking guy right now, Zach LaVine, is light skinned, he's still not the most popular. The most popular player is Steph Curry, and to the innovations that he's brought to the league with the 3-pointer, the stretching, and the drawing of the defense, and it's amazing. I'm not a coach, but trust me, I could break it down. But that's a different segment. But I imagine it's gonna be a whole bunch of light skinned Steph Curry looking players over the next 10 to 15 years, when we see more and more of these athletes' children growing up. You have LeBron James Jr. and Zaire Wade, so shout out to the King and to the Flash for that. I know they don't want any props on that, but still, that's just my personal view on that. But the hybrid is soon to take over. Mark my words. So, how about y'all just leave the comments below? What do y'all think about that? So, matter of fact, no, I'm not done with this. I have another point. I have another point I want to bring up on this, and it may be a little off kilter, because it's not necessarily directly tied to sports, but it does tie into what I'm saying with this. So it seems as though when a lot of prominent black men, and I'm going to use black athletes in this example, it seems like when you get to a certain point, for some reason we've internalized that having the I'm not even gonna necessarily say white women, because in the society we live in nowadays, the foreign looking woman is I guess what some would consider top shelf, or the most sought after. So for some reason, black men see that as a sign of we made it. Men altogether are very possessive and ego driven, and a lot of men, like, to the fault of the to the male ego. A lot of women, or a lot of guys, or a lot of men do look at their women as necessarily not in terms of possession as I own you, but it's in possession of mine is better than yours. Because guys are competitive in every aspect of what we do. So when it comes to when they look at their women, it goes for the same. But for some reason, we've internalized that the black woman isn't the prize of the successful person. Like, when you make it to the top, your woman, your significant other, the reflection of you, what a lot of these athletes see as being the most positive reflection of them, and the most positive reflection, it's not enough that they've been drafted. It's not enough that they're in the NBA, they have millions of dollars. It's like, also I got this badass foreign woman. So to top it all off.